Well, Bennett Kessler filed this following story. Local people lived through it over something like 70 years. For those who want a 16-minute version of Mammoth's rise and fall to near bankruptcy, an online documentary offers a creative look. Two students of the UC Berkeley Graduate School of Journalism, C.K. Hickey and Matt Sarnacki, researched and documented Mammoth's history and the steps leading up to the declaration of bankruptcy and beyond. Hickey had vacationed in Mammoth Lakes most of his life and heard from his grandfather that Mammoth was headed for trouble. Hickey handled web design and what's called immersive design, which deals with story-driven media of all kinds. Sarnacki led the reporting and video production. Powder Magazine is airing the documentary at its website, powdermag.com. Now, the show is called The Town, The Rise, Fall, and Redevelopment of Mammoth Lakes. It starts with a current interview with Dave McCoy, who said he saw Mammoth when he was 12 and knew that's where he wanted to be. From the magic of McCoy, the film moves on to the ski area purchased by corporate Intrawest and mistakes made over the development at Mammoth Airport. The filmmakers interviewed former airport manager Bill Manning, Councilman John Eastman, Steve Searles, and Police Chief Dan Watson. Councilman Rick Wood, Michael Raimondo, and Matthew Lehman all said the way out of Mammoth's money pit is growth and development when it's possible. Lehman leaned on marketing. Now, at the end of the film, Mammoth Mountain CEO Rusty Gregory goes to the philosophical when he speaks of a look from a, quote, long way back, end quote. He points to the Sierra with its geological violence, wind, rain, and erosion. Gregory said, quote, when you put a few people in a powerful natural environment like this, you get more of what this area provides, which is a tremendous amount of grinding, grating, and breaking. Destruction. There's a lot of destruction that goes along with constructive things, said Gregory. It's the way things are supposed to be, end quote. Well, currently, the Inyo County Animal Shelter has no room for employees or the public and limited space for animals. After many years of trying, plans for a new facility have moved forward. Bennett Kessler filed this report. Now, the Inyo County Board of Supervisors reached a consensus on Tuesday on a building option, and most of the funding is already in hand. Deputy Public Works Director Jim Tatum brought 3 building options and a project timeline to supervisors meeting. Tatum said, quote, if we follow the schedule, we should have a new animal shelter by the end of 2014, end quote. The 3 options ranged in price from $450,000 to $725,000. Now, Ted Shady of iCare told the board that the organization favors option 2, which does include space for workers and the public, along with the animals. Shady said iCare has raised $150,000 for the project. The supervisors set aside $200,000 in their budget, and the Sheriff's Trust Fund would provide $175,000. Now, that's $525,000 of the $588,000 price tag for option 2. Now, Supervisor Chair Linda Arcularius was concerned that the county does not have the money in hand for option 2, but she acknowledged that there was a consensus on that option. She said the issue will come back to the board December 10th with more firm plans. And you can see more on this story on our website, sierrawave.net. Well, let's go to the final part of Sierra Wave Media's Rob Gill's interview with Mammoth Lake's new interim town manager, Dan Holler.
As you know, I'm sure we've gone through many town managers in the past few years. What do you think it is, and I know that it goes differently case by case, but why do you think it is we've gone through so many town managers in Mammoth Lakes? Why can't we keep you guys around?
I don't know all the history. I know there's some of the challenges that the town went through with the legal actions and stuff. That can be very trying, and that can burn out a manager. So I think that happens. I don't know if it's the case here. Sometimes you'll get managers in a smaller community wanting to move up to larger communities and different challenges. Believe it or not, we get bored at different communities at times, so that can move on. So not knowing all the history here, I think it's really, though, the manager is really, can be a very stabilizing influence for a community. Ultimately, that relies back to working with the city council and the community. And the reality for a manager throughout the country, an average tenure is only in that 5-year range or so, a little less actually. And so they can be short tenure jobs just because of the nature of the job. Now you have others. I was a manager in Nevada for almost 12 years, so you can get some longer term as well. But really, I think it's that ability to come in and work with elected officials in the community and being able to build those relationships.
And may I ask your first impression of our elected officials and how you've been able to work with them so far?
So far, great. I've enjoyed the interaction I've had with them. Not a lot at this point. Working on setting up, kind of one-on-one meetings with them to see what their priorities and directions are and where they want to see go, and just getting to know them as individuals. But I think what I'm getting from is they care passionately about Mammoth Lakes, and I think that's a great element to have in there. It's not a single issue type elements coming out, and I think you turn that passion and really see how we make the town better.
So going back to one thing you said that town managers often become bored with the towns they're in.
They can.
They can. What is it you think about Mammoth Lakes that'll keep you from getting bored specifically?
One is just, the area that it's in fits right into my lifestyle, my wife's, in terms of the skiing, the outdoors, the hiking, just the location in that sense. It's hard to get tired of the outdoors, so location has a lot to do with it there, obviously. I think from an organizational standpoint, there is a lot of things to work on that are enjoyable from a public administrative perspective, both organizationally and in the community. And you look at the resources that the community has to be able to apply those out. I can easily see Mammoth being a long-term engagement just because of the diversity and the type of work that's available to do here.
Well, what is it that you think specifically that you're going to do to overcome those challenges that have kind of driven them away from Mammoth? Not just about being bored, but more about dealing with the city council and dealing with the current financial situation here in Mammoth.
Well, I think there's two elements there. One is interim manager. There's no guarantee being here long term, and that's up to the council and how we work through that, formal recruitment process, et cetera, for a permanent town manager. I think, I don't know all the history of the other managers of why they've left, et cetera, so I really can't speculate whether that's personal choice, whether that's political choice, whether that's financial. They're looking for greener pastures, they want to retire, et cetera. So I really can't speculate on why the other managers have left and those issues. But I really see it coming down to, it's about relationships. It's about building those relationships with elected officials. It's building those relationships with the community leaders. It's about building relationships with the town staff and the employee base. And if those are working well, I think, one, you can be successful in what you do. There can be good, hard policy debate. Tough decisions have to be made, and you're able to move forward through those. And the economic side of it, the last several years working through different places with economic downturns is just part of the business anymore. So the financial challenges can be an element. They get difficult. And you have to make tough decisions. And sometimes you do that and you work through those, or at some point you move on.
Interesting. And it's my understanding that you've expressed interest of being more than an interim town manager, of accepting the position full time. Could you speak to that?
It's, again, being a week on the job, you're looking at it, but in terms of what I've seen to date in history and looking at the town, that's definitely, I'd throw my hat in the ring, if you will, for a permanent town manager position for what I know today.
Well, we thank Rob Gill and Dan Holler for that, and we'll be back with more news.